Welcome to Turek Books Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Joshua Turek. We're never going to read all the books we want, but when someone tells us about a book, that's its own valid form of experiencing it. Our guests come in to talk about the books that left lasting marks on them as readers, and that becomes a springboard to who they are, who I am, and maybe who all of us are. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. And who knows, maybe you'll end up grabbing a book or two. Maybe you've read some of them, and it's nice to hear someone else talk about them. We want this to be like a book club, but without the guilt. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Turek Books. Portland, Oregon, August 24th. I'm going to be in your city putting on a show Saturday night with the great Simon Gibson, a comedian, a friend, a favorite, a co-host on NBC's Cannonball.
Woo-wee!
You've seen him on Amazon, and now he's here.
I'm right here, baby. I'm in studio.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. August 24th. We're already selling so many singles of tickets. We're good, dude. We don't even need to promote anymore.
They are going fast.
They are going faster than I thought. I'll be real with you, you know. And,
yeah.
You know, you wake up, you get those e-tick notifications every day, and you're just like, is today the day, you know? And so I'm feeling good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so happy that you're here. You're one of my great friends in life. My wife, I told her you were doing it, and she's like, "Oh, awesome, Simon! Simon's always like very open with you. You guys are very sensitive." And I was like,
"Is that right?"
Yeah, I was like, "That's why we're friends."
That is why we're friends.
Because we're two sensitive men.
We're two sensitive men. We're little sensies. And I'll tell you this: that dream I told you about, I never told anyone about that, and I never will. And we're not going to talk about it right now. No, that was I was like, yeah, what? I do think that like there are friends that are surface level, you know, joking around, and then there are friends, where you're just like, let's just get into the meat of it, bro.
Yeah.
Let's just get into the meat of it. I had a crazy sex dream as a 40-year-old. No, that ain't in a book.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me a dream. I thought you were just kidding about
No, that was real.
Yeah,
that was the last time we hung out, and you're just like, whoa, I guess that means you're healthy? You're like, I have to go now. I'm going to walk my dog. That's his excuse for everything.
And like we're in Anaheim, and I'm just like, can I get out?
Oh, yeah. I told you that, and then we had to drive the freaking Costa Mesa in 2 hours. I tell you that immediately. And then it's like, all right, well, we're stuck here, buddy.
That is truly the best way to tell someone about your dream that they're not that into hearing about.
Yeah, it's when you have to go do a garage show in freaking Orange County.
Oh, my God. Yeah. But that was fun. No, I appreciated you telling me about your dream, all of your dreams. Yeah, we dive right into those deeper waters together.
That's right. That's right.
So happy to have you here to talk about, of all things, books.
Freaking books.
Yeah.
People see me and, they see because we're both stand-up comedians, That's how we met. Like 10 years ago now?
Oh, yeah, here's a story. My very first open mic, not technically, but my very first, when I really started doing it, 2012, I'm in the basement of this like really weird hotel on Vermont Avenue.
Oh, Hollywood Hotel.
I'm
formerly the Ramada.
Yeah, okay. And so I'm like, they had an open mic in their basement, and it was like notoriously kind of bleak, and that's saying something in the LA open mic scene back then. Yeah. And I'm waiting, I'm drinking beers. I drank so many beers and had so much time before I got up that I actually sobered up because it was just hours and hours of waiting.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous. And then this comic gets on stage and he points to me and he goes, "You, man, you're really handsome. Usually I do stand up for the ladies, but today I'm doing it for you." And that man was you.
That was me. And I'll tell you this. Normally, I don't even know who I'm looking at. I'm just looking around. Like, normally... it's like, I don't like to do comedy for ugly people, okay? And that's not just surface, like, that's interior. So it's like, you were, handsome inside and out, and I was like, that's inspiring to me. That makes me want to be, because it's someone who was like, my thing in high school was like, okay, how do I hang out with the popular kids, the sick, I know. But I was like, okay, I'll just be a clown. So then it became like, really I just wanted the cool, jocks and whatnot. So I think that's really translated. And ironically, most of my fans look like me. So I don't know what, and so handsome, and really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy, like how time goes with, because I think about that moment. That was at least 10 years ago.
That was 12 years ago. 2012.
Unreal.
And you and I didn't even become friends until 3 or 4 years after that.
Yeah.
But it was just this very, that was like the first mic I did after, 4 or 5 years before my friend hosted an open mic on the pier in Santa Monica. And once again, I got too drunk and made a fool of myself on stage, thought that I could do it just because I was there to watch, and then thought I could do it. And then I think I really did pee my pants that night at some point, either on stage or just after getting off.
Just a little splash, folks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. Nothing makes you think that you can do comedy like watching open mic comedy. You go to an open mic, you just watch for 40 minutes, you're like, I could do this.
So true.
These people are losers.
It's so true.
Are you seeing these people? It is bleak up there. So it will make you,
and then the
believe in
the
yourself.
mind turn by you saying you could do it too is admitting to yourself that you're a loser. Without getting there yet.
And there are people who are like, it's weird because the first time I did it, I crushed. And then after that, it went bad. And I was like, that was not me. The first time I did it was bad.
Really?
And, oh, my God. It was embarrassing.
Well, yeah, you've come a long way, because truly one of the funniest stand-ups I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend. In fact, I would probably be more prejudiced toward you because you're my friend, just based on that. So,
well, thank you.
High praise, but screw comedy. We're here for books.
If we talk about comedy again, I'll be sad.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about books, baby.
Yeah. The shock collar will go off.
Yeah. It ain't around my neck. All right.
How's your reading life these days?
So I will say that it's going a lot. It's going really good, I've really, I think a big thing that all of us do is, scroll on our phones before bed. And that is reading time. So what I've really tried to start doing is replace that scroll time with reading time. And I'll tell you what, this is better than a warm cup of milk. It puts me to sleep. All right.
So true.
Because I'm just like, all right, time to get some reading done.
Yeah. Most of my afternoon naps, classically in my life, have been preceded by laying on the couch and opening a book. Mm-hmm. I almost am suspicious of myself when I go to read in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, you're doing this because you know.
Are you just trying to go to sleep?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Are you just trying to take a little nappy right now? Well, and also, so for that, I feel like I sleep better. I feel better when I read before bed. But also, not to brag, but I go on the road quite a bit. Sometimes I don't even feel like I live in LA because I'm gone so much. And, unless you're like, I know I said I wouldn't talk about comedy, but I'm like, unless, you're going out on the road with like a friend, unless you're doing like stuff together, if you have a companion, like it's pretty boring and very lonely.
Right.
So for that reason, I bring, I like to bring a hard book, but, sometimes I'll bring my Kindle and, oh boy. And so, I'll read that in the motel, crash pad. And, so like I really would say that since I started going out a lot more in the last few months, I've really started to hammer down on the books, and I just feel better. I feel, even because I'm not like reading like mind altering books, I really I kind of like meat and potatoes kind of stuff sometimes. But even doing that, I feel, I feel sharper.
So much better. It's like you get that same entertaining rush that you would watching a show or something, but you don't feel like sick from it.
Yeah. And somebody, the great Amy Silverberg, she was a guest.
Our first.
That was your first. I watched that episode. She was always, she was someone who said like when you're watching TV, you feel like you're wasting time, and when you're reading books, you gain a story or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
what she said.
Oh, that's what she said.
That is
those
and
exact
then she went.
Words.
So I do feel like with books, I do feel like I'm like, oh, okay, I'm actually getting something back here.
Yeah, getting something back. That's a great way of putting it.
Rather than just like watching the whole fourth season of The Boys when I had COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Folks.
Yeah.
COVID's back.
It is, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So if there's anything you wanted to start with from your pile, I'm game to hear about it. Do you have anything in mind, or are you just slinging from the hip?
Well, yeah. I mean, I put this one on the top, and this is a book that I read, like, I don't know, right when I was first starting out, like 12 years ago. And it's How to Succeed in Business Without Really Crying by the great Carol Leifer. Leifer. A comedian who's been around. And this was something that somebody gave to me when I was first, like, really starting in the biz. And it's basically just, like, a lot of, tips, career tips, not just how to, like, break in, but, like, also how to, like, navigate through this tumultuous industry. And this book is like, it's so crazy how fast technology works and how fast things go, because this book is almost not antiquated or like, but this book's like 20 years old.
Okay.
And so much has changed, obviously, in the entertainment industry, but there are still like a lot of really valuable sort of lessons there. So I really like. And I was kind of, to prep for this, I was kind of going back and reading this book last night and the last couple of days. and like the whole first chapter is basically just like, start when you're young.
Ooh.
And I was like, good tip.
Yeah, but it's like, start when you're too, I mean, I get, like, there's pros and cons, right?
Yeah.
It's like, start when you have nothing to, you don't know how to say what you want to say,
mm-hmm.
but you have the enthusiasm and energy to figure it out.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, this, honestly, I recommend, like, anyone in entertainment or just, in any sort of, like, business field, read this book, because it's not, she has a lot of stories about, like, shitty gigs, staying at, like, the infamous comedy condos, where it's like, cheap club owners, instead of putting you up in a hotel, they just, buy, like, an apartment or rent an apartment and then just have comedians stay there. And it's kind of like, but just, navigating, even once you, like, once you actually break through, like, how to navigate those situations. Because, frankly, I wish I would have reread this, like, 5 years ago, because I think, it really would have probably helped me sort of, navigate these feelings of, like, okay, well, I got what I wanted, I think, but then I still have all these feelings of, like, animosity and, feeling left out, even when I, like, got the things that I wanted. And this kind of tells you how to sort of, like, how to deal with that stuff and how to, sort of, like, weave through it,
That sounds really useful.
Her whole thing was, like, basically about this, like, corporate gig that she was doing. They didn't have a spotlight for her. And she, like, went to the, to the tech guy and was like, hey, can we get a spot? And he's like, it's, the spotlight's in my contract. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about, tough luck, lady. And then another person who was on a different, like, corporate event was Joan Rivers. And so Joan Rivers walks by and it's just like, hey, where's your spotlight? And then basically, like, walks on stage to this crowd of, like, salesmen, and basically is just like, hey, this place screwed, her over, so you guys have to really listen. And so the lesson was, like, have allies
mm-hmm.
in this business. And that's in every business, but you want to have like compadres, people that when they, I mean, essentially a rising tide lifts all ships, or something. So, like, you want to have people, that care about you.
Like, mutual support.
Exactly.
Give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because the same sort of inferiority complexes that drive most people into the life of trying to entertain are the very same things that could get in the way of that.
Yeah. No kidding.
So, a lot of life lessons to learn as you grow up.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is a book, even though, again, like I said, I wish I would have like reread this 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I think this is a book that you can continually go back to and like lack of a better, like relearn these skills, because this kind of stuff, you can have like these epiphanies, but you can then forget them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've had so many like, I've done acid, and I've had, life all like, this is how I gotta be. And then, a few weeks go by and you're like, fuck that piece of, you're like, and then you're like going back on the whole thing. So it's like, I think something like this is a good sort of like checkpoint to be like, okay, I'm feeling this way, come back to this, or, whatever that is for you. But like, for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to come back and read this.
Yeah.
Every like few years.
Because even if you write it down, sometimes you don't even remember where you wrote it.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at my handwriting from 4 years ago. I'm like, who the what?
That's not English.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Justin Simeon on. He directed Dear White People. He wrote it too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really cool, talented guy. And he brought in on The War of Art, and he says he just reads it almost every day.
Whoa.
Yeah, and like
The War of Art? Or
is it the War on Art? War of Art.
Yeah.
War of Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the idea of like going back to this wisdom over and over again, like you're saying, it seems to be, like keep going until it really integrates, and then keep going more, because you'll probably find new meanings in what you're reading.
Yeah.
Based on the given circumstances of your life. There's almost something charming to like reading that and being like, oh, well, I'll get to that chapter when I get to it. I need these first few, because you said you got that book when you were starting out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be like, I mean, the whole first section of this, I mean, it's good to reread, but I was like, oh yeah, this is for people who, like, she basically says in here, like, and you got to be honest with yourself. Maybe you just don't have it,
okay.
And I was like, I definitely have. Okay, we're not worried about that. But then some of the other stuff, yeah.
Cool. Useful.
So yeah, I recommend. I mean, just for anyone, really. We'll get to this later.
Oh, jeez.
And then here's to prove how cultured and smart I am. This is a book that's almost more like just decoration in my house to let people know that, hey, I'm a cultured guy, culture vulture. This is How About Never is Never Good for You, My Life in Cartoons, and this is by Bob Mankoff.
The cartoon editor of The New Yorker.
Kind of elitist.
This says that you have a passport, don't you?
Yeah, and it has been stamped, okay? I have gone places, not just Canada. So, I mean, this is really like, I mean, it's kind of his story of like coming up, and I don't know where this book came from.
Okay.
I don't know who gave it to me.
Okay.
It was definitely a gift.
It just showed up on your coffee table one day?
Yeah, but I've been moving out of my apartment, moving in with my girlfriend.
Sorry, ladies.
I got one. Mm-hmm. She's real. Don't even fact check it. But yeah, so I was just like, cleaning out a bunch of stuff, and I found this, and I was like flipping through it, and here's what's great about the New Yorker and like these cartoons, and it was on an episode of Seinfeld too, but like I'm reading these cartoons, and a lot of the times I'm just like, I get it, just trying to prove that I'm smart. And a lot of times I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is super fascinating, and like this guy, I really do think, because he was like a cartoonist for the New Yorker for like 20 years, and then he was like the cartoon editor for another 20 years. So it's just kind of fascinating, like this cartoon style that he, basically like created here. I got it, like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like those sort of little shorts,
Yeah.
I feel like is so, he really inspired so many other like cartoonists that I feel like I see his work everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's not him.
It's like a very identifiable style.
Exactly.
If you're listening to this podcast, the pictures he just showed look like what you think a New Yorker cartoon looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a guy like finger sort of raised.
Kind of simple line drawn.
Yeah.
Not a lot of excess.
But this book is good. I mean, it's it's basically something, again, back to the point where I just put this on my shelf. People come in and be like, oh.
Not bad. So this is your Impress the Audience book.
This is my Impress. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still basically just a bunch of cartoons.
Okay.
So that's, what are you going to do?
These are your classy cartoons.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking, I could see your pile over there.
Yeah.
And I think I'm seeing the fun stuff, the fun cartoons.
So, okay, so there is a backstory with these, and I will say that backstory is that these are like the original Ninja Turtles graphic novels is what I thought they were. This is a thing. These 4 items here, I have owned these since I was 5 years old. These have somehow, I've lost so many irreplaceable items during moves where I just say I wait until the last few days and then I'm just like, in the trash, in a box, where's it going? I don't know.
Where's my other shoe?
Yeah, I have no more jackets. But somehow all of this stuff, these 4 have made it for, I mean, I had them when I was 5, so like
decades.
So, I'm 26 now, so I've had these for 21 years, and really the reason is because I thought these were worth thousands and thousands of dollars because I was like, I got these original, and then I looked them up. These are not graphic novels. I thought these were graphic. What they are is just a bunch of the comics into one volume.
Oh, cool.
Basically. But I mean, if you look at the illustrations in here,
dang.
I mean, it's got its very, and I don't know if you saw
vivid.
Yeah, and also,
wow,
that's pretty cool right there.
Yeah.
But then I'm talking these old comics.
The image clarity seems way ahead of what you would expect.
Yeah, and also brutal. These Ninja Turtles are straight up killing people in these original books. They're using the weapons.
They're teenagers.
And they're just crazy kids, And so I don't know if you saw the new what was it, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
in the last few years?
Yeah, it came out a year ago.
I did not.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's I went in with whatever expectations. My mom wanted to see it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll go. And then I was watching it, and we both look at each other, and we were just like, this is badass. Because they basically they make it look like this.
Right.
They make it look like a comic book kind of. So they mix, I don't know if they mixed animation, almost like clay, it was just the way they did it, but it was so much like this. And these were, again, it's just super sentimental to me.
Yeah.
Because I've had them, for the majority of my life.
And isn't that worth more than if they'd been worth more?
Oh, exactly. Because I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, when people have things that are, very cherished and valuable to them, and then it turns out they're also worth a lot of money, it's like, yeah, but are you ever even going to sell that?
Yeah.
So you're essentially only getting it appraised for insurance,
And if you do sell it, have you given away some part of your experience, some part of your existence because it was that close? There's the question of, would you sell your dog for $1 million? And the answer is no. You can't do it.
You couldn't sell
could not sell my dog for
your
$1 billion.
Love that guy.
Because no matter how many you bought, you can't replicate the time and space and feelings that you shared.
Yeah.
So no,
all right, I'm getting a dog. Anyone else in here have a dog?
Yeah.
You got a dog? You both
yeah.
I'm the only dogless sack of shit in here. I ain't got nothing tying me down.
Get a dog, come back. We'll interview you when you're ready.
Here's the thing. Periodically, I'll come back and be like, "How many books?" You're like, "No, you're never coming back." How many dogs and how many books have I read? How many dogs do I have? How many books have I read? Yeah. So it's just like, it's valuable to you, and I mean, this. I'll always just have this on a bookshelf, and with because one thing I do love is the what do you call it? Where people get their Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
And what's almost, and the people who find out their stuff is worth a lot of money are always, you see it in their mind where they're like, oh, I can't have this displayed anymore. This is $50,000. I just had it hanging on my wall, And then the people who find out that their stuff isn't worth a lot of money, a lot of times they're relieved because they're like, well, it's not worth a lot of money, but it's worth something to us, so we're just going to keep it, and we're not,
They are relieved. For the old show Friends, they had an Antiques Roadshow episode, and their joke was, like, when people find out their thing wasn't worth money, they're upset, and they're trying to hide it, how they're upset. But I think you're right. I think in reality, they are a little relieved that they don't have the burden of that. And no, some people are probably upset. They were hoping to cash in. Well, but I know what you mean. It's like it would be a burden in a way.
And those people who are upset that it's not worth a lot of money, they didn't care about that thing in the first place.
Yeah, that's right.
Like what you were saying, they were literally looking like, oh, this will be my ticket to retirement.
Yeah, the value that you feel toward material items can vary so differently. I'm friends with this used bookseller in Santa Monica, Tim, who I want to have on the show sometime.
Tim.
And he goes everywhere hunting down used books. He got this box of like radical leftist literature from this deceased journalist house. He paid $500 for it, and he's like, I can't sell this because like these books feel too special. And what he does sell, he loves books, and so he sells books. Then I go to the library used book sale that I like to go to, and there are these guys in there.
What library?
Santa Monica Library has a great one, but pretty much all of them have at least carts, even in the LA public library system. But these guys are in there with their cell phones, barcode scanners, and they're just pulling books out one after another, lining up the barcode with their scanners, looking for that diamond in the rough, that needle in the haystack for value. But it's like you can tell the love is not there for the books that they're trying to sell. And I don't blame them. Everyone's trying to just scrape by in whatever ways they can.
We're doing our best.
We're doing our best, but how cool when people can still bring love to the things in their life that are even just for display or luxury or enrichment. It's the sacredness of objects.
And that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, Volume 1 through Volume 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll give you $40 for it.
Sold! I need a sandwich from Gibson's. $40 might not quite cover it, but
it'll get you halfway there.
That's
6 inches.
Yeah, it'll give me half a turkey club. So
I love it. I love that you brought those. That's so cool.
Thank you.
What a cool reflection on your life and your time. Yeah.
And then the last, not the last one because I have like 4 more. I brought a stack.
Yeah, you did.
You tell me to come with some books.
Yeah,
I got some books. Well, one thing I just, I'm sure you don't want to sell your own book on your podcast, but I did, purchase one of the signed copies of On the Outside, Looking Up by Joshua Turek, one of the best poets of our time. Okay, you read that? I'm yelling at no one. I'm just staring. Yeah, you read that. The levels are. But I was reading this, and one thing that really resonated with me was the one of the used car salesman. Because for the listeners that might not know, I for a little bit of time was a trailer salesman. I sold RVs. And something about it, because like in the last, like times are tough. We all got to do what we got to do. And during the pandemic, like I couldn't go on the road. No one's making anything really. But what took off was the outdoor recreational vehicle because no one could do anything, so they wanted to go outside. And, just kind of seeing just human nature of, wanting... I knew, like, because I got commissions, on these, and, like, I found out, like, I never done this before, because it was always kind of like customer service jobs, anything that I could easily quit to kind of get the next gig, like, I don't feel bad about quitting this job because I got a show, whatever, So this was the first kind of job where it was like, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, salary, but like then commissions. And then I found like, that's a big motivator for me to, be good at my job. Directly making money makes me want to try. And I found out like I'm pretty good at selling a dream, which is all these people want with like RVs, like where do you see yourself, blah, blah, blah. But the reason I was doing so well was because the world was literally going to shit. And so when I was reading this the last couple of nights, because I prepared for this, believe it or not.
Did your homework.
I was kind of like, damn, that resonates with me so much, because it was like, I haven't been on TV a ton, but like, I was on a couple of shows and like made a decent amount, and like but that was for 2 months, 2 months to last 2 years basically. But other than that, working at this job was where I felt the most like secure financially. And it was a direct result of the pandemic. So it was just this weird sort of like, I don't know if juxtaposition is the right word.
It is.
But it was like this weird sort of, yin yang of like, I'm doing good because no one else is really doing good. You know?
Well, it's so interesting. You're like, because people couldn't do anything, they had to go outside.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we couldn't do anything together, but same way, I was like, I can't hate the pandemic. I would go to the Forest Lawn Cemetery and take mushrooms. And
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I would hang out there all the time.
Wait, Forest Lawn, which
the
one?
The Glendale one. It's like
Glendale.
Disneyland of cemeteries.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very fantastical, very beautiful. The most open space you can find out in that area.
Because I would go to the Hollywood one, and that one... that one's also pretty weirdly like magical in some ways.
Yeah, that I haven't spent a lot of time at that one.
Because I would just go there for the summer movies before.
Cool.
But then when you actually walk around
the Hollywood
there,
Forever Cemetery?
Hollywood Forever.
Yeah, that one's really cool.
Yeah, that's the one.
Because there's some other forest lawns that aren't quite as like vibey, which is a strange thing to say about a cemetery. Well, that's how I knew I needed to move from Glendale. I was like, my favorite place here is the cemetery.
Yeah, I got to get the hell out of Glendale.
There and Mini Kebab. Special shout out to Mini Kebab, family-owned business. Truly the best. I think I took you there once.
We did go there.
Yeah,
because I came to visit you a couple of times.
Yeah, that's right. Cash only, but boy, is it good. Call ahead because it's they get crowded.
Folks, I know this is now a kebab podcast.
Yeah, sorry. But thank you. I mean, I'm trying to veer off of the subject of me. I was going to say, Dad, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah. You buy my kid's book. He's really talented.
Dad, don't bring my book on my book podcast.
Don't slam on the table. Yeah.
But I love how you connected that poem to your life. And the first line in that poem is like, do you ever feel like to make ends meet, you're helping the world meet its end?
Yeah.
And I mean, I recorded that after I got off my day job a few years ago, and it was like, I felt it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt it. I made a video first, and then based off of something I'd written, and then now it's back in the written form.
Let me ask you, how many of the poems in here are like from the videos that you did?
Like probably the first 15, I think, the ones that are kind of funnier.
Yeah.
And then a couple toward the end. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, at some point when I was putting the book together, I thought, oh yeah, don't force this. Like, you've been writing the poems, you've just also been using video as a means of having them heard,
getting them out there.
And so now now that people are friendly toward them, let's strip them back down to the physical realm and put them in a little book that I self-published and give them something real, like your Ninja Turtles books. Like someday some kid's going to be cleaning out their grandparents' house.
These are the same. You hear me? These are the goddamn same.
I'm just fighting wars within myself. That's all.
Yeah.
Inside the sewer that is myself.
Your knives are the pen.
I guess the point is like someone will stumble on a real physical thing because the internet will have burst into flames by then. And my little book's hanging out in someone's closet collecting dust. I love that idea. Last night I put a bunch together. I had one that I was sending to Miami Beach and one I was sending to North Dakota. 2 orders that I biked down to the post office today. I thought, how cool. My words are going to the southern edge and the northern lands. It's just, kind of a cool feeling.
From the southern edge to the northern lands. Everywhere in between.
And if you come to our show August 24th in Portland, Oregon, I was thinking, what if I open the show with the car salesman pitch like it's an ad?
That's pretty good.
A commercial
that is pretty good.
Paid to be on our live show at the Mississippi Studios.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Like, how confusing is this venue, by the way? It's the fact that we've sold any tickets is miraculous because people have no idea what the hell's going on. We're like, we're doing a show in Portland, Oregon at Mississippi Studios. People are like, what are you talking about? You're out of your mind.
Why are you listing 2 places?
Come see me in Portland in Mississippi.
Who's on first?
Yeah.
They're like, Portland, Maine?
Yeah. So bizarre, but it will be a good show, and I'm honestly what I'm really excited about, other than the show, is being able for you to like see, because that's my hometown.
Yeah,
I'm from there, and it's like I feel like I've lived in L.A. You've lived here your whole life. You're from here. I've lived here for over 16 years now.
Okay.
So basically my whole adult life has been here. And I started comedy here. Like, I'm not one of those people who got big in, like, their little scene and then came here and was like, uh-oh. Like, I started in hell. I started in the bottom of hell and worked my way up.
You're talking about that hotel basement, right?
Yeah, I'm literally talking about the Hollywood Hotel. Best bathrooms in the biz, though.
Truly.
Nice bathrooms.
Yeah.
To do a little bloop. No. But so it is like... It is interesting, to kind of go back there with like a whole different, just sort of vibe. And and we're going really, if the forests aren't on fire, we're going at the best time. I'm so stoked to have you there.
Me too. You love Portland and Portland loves you. And you saying earlier how the road is boring unless you have someone else with you.
Exactly.
It's like, boom, we're all going to be hanging out. So.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Did you have any other books?
I do, yeah. And I'm so sorry. Okay, again, I travel. I know this is wrong, but I got my little dumb... I've read a lot of books on this thing, and
It's a Kindle.
You can't show them off. This is a Kindle. It's got the constellations on it, though. That's my little cover.
Okay.
But, one of the books I wanted to talk about is, and I think your guest, I don't think the episode's released yet.
Today,
okay.
Are you talking Noah?
Yeah, Noah.
Yeah.
Sweet kid. But I also read Jurassic Park on here, and I don't know if he's going to talk about this, but like Jurassic Park, the book, they need to remake that as an hard R-rated gore fest, because that book is nuts.
Really?
It's nuts.
More nuts than the suspense of the movie?
So much more. I mean, obviously, the first movie, I saw that when I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
Me too.
In the way where I was like movie magic.
It was.
It was magic, you know? But they really dumbed it down compared to the book. I mean, Michael Crichton was like he's literally like a scientist who became a writer.
Okay.
So all the DNA stuff is you're like, oh, I feel like I'm literally reading an equation right now. But I mean, there's 2 T-Rexes in the story.
Oh.
The lawyer guy, the coward in the book.
Yeah.
Or in the movie. He's like in the book, they actually merge 2 characters together. So the PR guy is the coward, And then the lawyer in the book is this like burly guy who's like a one of the heroes in the book. Also, there's like hundreds of raptors living underneath a cave. They like rip people apart. Anyway, super fast read.
Yeah.
It was like the first book that I read as an adult where I was like, oh my God, I blew through this. It only took me 5 months. No.
That's an amazing sell on it.
Yeah.
That raptors under a cave, the imagery of that, like they're like little spiders or something.
Exactly.
But they're not. They're raptors.
And like someone like you, I think you could read that book. It's like 300-400. You could read it in a day. I think someone,
Yeah.
a couple of days.
Well, Noah, it was so charming because he started reading it on his honeymoon. Which is just like, there's something so innocent about that.
It's a romantic book,
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this.
Yeah,
it's,
like the fact that it like tonally doesn't align with the romance of a honeymoon. It was just like, I love that.
Noah, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
But what a sell. And 2 T-Rexes. As you're saying it, though, I'm like, yeah, no, for the children's film that they wanted to sell hundreds of millions of tickets to, that made sense to reduce it to 1 T-Rex. Yeah. 2 does diminish the power, whatever. But then, yeah, if they were to remake it now as the hard R you're talking about, it'd be really cool.
There's some shit in this book that like just the brutality of it, that it was like haunting.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Whoa.
When you read a book and you're like, those times that, and that's kind of what's gotten me addicted to reading now, is like, you read something and then you're just like, what the what?
Yeah.
You have those moments. And, and then also your brain can make things, so much crazier than any like visual, in a movie or TV show. It's
so true. The way those combinations of words just connect to the symbols that you have available to you. Yeah. And the power that they have because they're you. Mm-hmm. It's a more extreme feeling, I think, too. Yeah. But yeah, the emotional resonance thing. I actually made a friend online. He sent me his poetry book, God of the Air Hose. Oh, sweet. He's a blue-collar poet, and he writes about working in a factory. Cesar K. Avelar. I'm actually going to get him on the podcast. Oh, nice. But I literally just picked this up at my P.O. box and was reading it on the way here. Oh, sweet. And I was like kind of tearing up on the bus. And like similar to you talking about how you're like, whoa, it was like, whoa, in a different way. Just like, whoa, am I about to cry again? And he's not going for tears. He's not being melodramatic. He's just writing with like really cool, direct language about factory work and some of the beauty of it, but a lot of the dehumanizing beauty of it to workers. And I honestly feel like even office workers who aren't like, around these big, loud, heavy machines, just the degradation of working, I think you really tapped into. And like this is just in the moment that I'm sharing it because it just came to me a couple hours ago. Yeah, so
what's it called? It's called
God of the Air Hose. I think he self-published it too. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think we're going to have him on next week, which will be cool.
Sweet. Does he live here?
Yeah, he lives out he's the poet laureate of Pomona. Yeah. We got to have one. Yeah, exactly.
Got to have one in Pomona.
Right? Yeah, I think he runs an open mic out there. Well, I'll talk to him about it, but just, I wasn't even sure I was going to bring it up, but hearing you talk about Jurassic Park oddly made me want to talk about the poetry I was reading on the bus on the way here. Yeah. So pretty cool, and that is the power of reading.
That's true.
And I think we got to get to your final books for a similarly charming reason to Noah reading Jurassic Park on his honeymoon. It looks like you bought books.
I bought a couple of new books
for the podcast.
I mean, I felt like I was like, oh, it'd be nice to bring these on. Like, also it gives me some sort of like put myself in check, or like, what do you call it? Like
on a ticking time bomb, or you're putting yourself on notice.
On notice, yeah.
You're like, now I have to read these because I bought them.
I got to read these because I bought them, and I needed some new books.
Yeah, what'd you buy? Let's do an unpackaging.
I'm throwing this away.
Don't
after today.
Not with those constellations on there.
So I was had to go to the post office in Los Feliz yesterday, and I love going up there because then I just walk around, and went into Skylight Books.
Great bookstore.
Yeah, there's like a few bookstores on like Vermont right up there that are cool. But I always go into this place. I like it a lot. I just became a yearly member, $30 a year. You get like discounts on books. So,
and if you want to sponsor our podcast, Skylight, we can do what Simon just did.
Shout out to Skylight,
but for money. So
oh my God.
Get in touch with us, please.
Get on it.
Books. Any bookstores. We'll do what we just did.
I will plug you so hard. You don't understand. So one of the other books. So I again like, I do think I love all kinds of books, but where I really sort of like, page turner are like noir-y mysteries.
Yeah.
And so this is the last in this series of books by James Ellroy. This is L.A. Confidential.
Nice.
And this is this is one of my favorite movies of all time. But this is the third book in a series. The first one was the Black Dahlia, and then the book that I just read, which is called The Big Nowhere. And it's it's just like the way that he describes 1950s Hollywood is just so vivid and so cool. It's always got this sort of like jazzy, just like booze fueled, just sort of like visuals and hallucinations. Kind of, it's like really cool. The language does not hold up in the book I just read, as far as like the way they describe groups of people.
He'd get canceled for this.
100%. And I'm like, is there any self-awareness? Because it's always through like how the detective or like the cops are describing, people. So I'm just like, eek.
It's just like that was common language.
He
wasn't thinking I'm writing something edgy, whatever. That was literally how they talked.
Yeah.
Which is
so I'm
alarming.
very excited to read this and just kind of finish because the last book had some scenes again where I was just like, what the fuck?
Well, and you've lived in LA for 16 years now, so you understand it that much more. The sexy, shadowy underbelly of things that you catch glimmers of driving home late at night or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the experiences you've had, who knows?
And also because like so much of that stuff here is gone now.
That too.
It's like,
now you'd be like, I was driving past the Orsini, which is a mixed-use retail housing facility.
Charlie Chaplin used to perform here. Now it's a Chipotle, so it's just that kind of stuff where you're like, okay, yeah. And then, so I'm really excited to read this. Another book that I feel ashamed to have never read any of this person's work. And I feel like if someone would have introduced me to Kurt Vonnegut when I was like 16, I would have like mind blown,
Yeah.
But no one did.
Yeah.
So now, I bought this is his first book, The Sirens of Titan.
Cool.
So I was like, I might as well just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I started reading it last night, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna burn through this book like in a couple of weeks.
Liked it.
I think. Yeah. It just. Have you read?
No. I mean, I'm with you. A few people have brought Vonnegut into the show, and I've had to confess that like I started him briefly at like 20, and just like had other interests.
Yeah. And that now though I kind of felt like this would, that's why I wanted to talk about this first, because I was like, this almost. Even though he was renowned as one of like the great American writers, I was like, this almost feels like hack, to even be like, I like, Vonnegut.
Right.
But I just never read any of this, like when I was a teenager, I would read like Lord of the Rings, and like fantasy sort of stuff like that.
Yeah. I did too. When I first went to see Lord of the Rings in the movie theater, it was just because my brother and I were bored on a Sunday. We didn't know anything about it.
Oh, really?
Nothing. And so we saw it and we were just like blown away. We loved it. And so then
then you read
I read the books, and then I would go to like the midnight screenings of the next two. Like that. And it was like, so to be surprised by something, I don't feel like we get that too much these days, because media is so, if you're going to go to media, that media has already found you.
Yeah.
And like tipped its
not too many surprises.
Yeah, not too many surprises.
I'm excited about this.
Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah.
I mean, why not?
I got to read them then too. You're right though. It is kind of like this catch-all word that you'd hear in 90s movies if they wanted to like portray a character as like a little like hip left-leaning. They'd be like Vonnegut, and you're like, I'm kind of hate this after hearing it enough times.
Yeah, every like I feel like
it's very Gen X cool.
Exactly. And even now, like when 10, 15 years ago with like millennials, you'd be like red flag hipster guy at a bar reading Vonnegut,
exactly.
looking around to see if anyone's looking at him reading, And so I was always kind of like, but I'm like, whatever, there's probably a reason.
There's a reason
why, so.
Exactly.
So this will be the one where I'm like, I feel good about this. This, I know it's like going to be well written, but this is definitely my sort of like, I don't even know if this is a guilty pleasure, but it would be something where like, literary people would be like, murder mystery, but.
Well, not us here. We love all books, whatever gets you reading and whatever you can talk about with other people, or just, light up within yourself. Like you were talking about, you read a book and it lights you up and it sticks with you and you want to keep reading. So Simon Gibson.
What?
I've loved every waking second of this conversation and the sleeping ones, too.
Yeah. I'll call you tonight in my dreams.
It was such a pleasure having you on.
Dude,
I don't know if you and I, we've been friends for so long, but I don't know if we've ever gotten this deep into books, so this was a great excuse to do that.
Dude, my pleasure, yeah. And also any excuse to drive to Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? I didn't even think I was allowed back on this side of town, but
I'm shocked every time they let me into this building. The only problem is once you're here, you're like, where do I go now that will have me?
Yeah.
And there's a cool park across the street that I hang out at and read sometimes if I'm early here. So there's some things out here.
Out here.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to see you again August 24th in Portland, Oregon. So if anyone's listening or has people in Portland, send them our way. It's going to be a really fun night.
Yeah, I think it'll be awesome.
What a treasure to chat with you today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you. And thanks for listening to another episode of Turek Books, and happy reading. Thank you for listening to another episode of Turek Books. Be sure to like, subscribe, thumbs up, any kind of thing that could help us get listened to or watched by more people. We really appreciated having you and hope to see you again next week with a new guest and plenty of books. Take care until then.